Maybe I'm borderline heat stroke right now. That's why I'm just talking so much. Alright guys, welcome back. I am having a hell of a day today. As you can see, I'm a little shiny and driving around in this car for a little while. It's a little warm today. It's 90 in Wisconsin. And I know you guys tease me when I talk about saying 90 and it's warm, but like I explained to someone the other day, it's more of the swings in the temperature, because a couple months ago it was 40 below outside. And you get used to that weather to where you're basically outside in a sweatshirt shoveling, and then this comes on and it's an adjustment. It takes a little bit, but we're gonna put AC in this car, and that'll probably be one of my next projects. So my day today so far, I've been driving around in the car. It's 3:55. I've been driving the car around for probably 3 hours for now, and coolant temp is at 212. So it's doing pretty decent. Like I said, it's a 90-degree day right now, and cruising around. It's not so bad. So trying to get some stuff dialed in. I got a lot to learn with this electronic throttle body stuff in this computer, so just trying to work my way through it and work out some of the stuff. So I've been dialing in the VE table. One issue that I'm having is I'm having to keep my airflow really low, otherwise it just revs really high. So my airflow minimum is really low right now, like 2 gram cylinders, or 2 grams per second. And I think that's wrong. So it's normally, from what I've seen, around like 11 to 14, but I have it at like 2 right now. So what the computer's trying to do is it's trying to pull a bunch of timing out of it also to compensate for the low airflow. So I'm adjusting my minimum spark to keep the timing in it and keep the throttle body closed enough that it doesn't rev like piss. So otherwise it just revs up to like 3,000. So not sure what's going on with that, but it's kind of working right now, so I'm just gonna go with it. But what I'm gonna do right now, I have the minimum spark set at 10 degrees. I'm gonna set my minimum spark at like where my idle spark is, and that's pretty much where I need to go. I shouldn't have an issue with that. I'm thinking now, like if I do a wide open, it's only gonna allow me my minimum spark. So I might have to watch that if I want to go less than like 15, 16 degrees, if I go like a bazillion pounds of boost or something. You know what I'm saying. So what's happening now is every time I clutch in and I lift off the throttle, and it seems like the spark is going by throttle position. So when I open the throttle position a little bit more, up to like 18, it puts the timing back into it. So I think I want to... So I did try to put the normal airflow back in, and it like revved to 3,000, then I cut it in half and it was like at 2,000, then I cut it in half again, and then it would come down to like 12 to 1,500. So yeah, but what's happening is when I clutch in and then lift off the throttle, it pulls the timing back out to like minimum 10 degrees. So, and when that's happening, the air-fuel ratio changes and it kind of follows the spark. So going to adjust that so I don't see so much of a big fluctuation in the timing. I did fix a little flare that I was having, because I'm not seeing a lot of vacuum when it's under load, but then when I lift and close the throttle body and clutch in, it puts a bunch more vacuum in it, and then it was adding like 11 degrees of timing, like 11 to 15 degrees of timing, just from the cylinder air mass changing. So it was basically staying at the same RPM, and then the gram cylinder air mass was coming down, and then it would add a bunch of timing and then rev it back up, and it would keep it revved. So now that's a little bit better. When I clutch in, it doesn't, you know, increase like 300 RPM. So I'm going to stop yapping and I'm going to write a new file. So I'm just using the EQ ratio error histogram right now, and I'm just doing like big batches and just drive around as much as I can. I'm not going over 4,000 RPM at this point, and not even really getting into boost. So under 4,000 RPM, 100 kPa. That's what I'm trying to do right now. So yeah, and it's taken a while to build boost. I tried to get it a couple times. I only was able to build like 3 pounds just on a little short pull, but I also haven't gone over 4,000 RPM yet. So maybe it's not so bad. Maybe it's not so bad. So I'm going to copy this table in. I'm going to do pace special multiplied by percent half. That always works really well for me. So the E38 computer has E38 computer has 3 VE tables when it has the upgraded OS. So it doesn't use the virtual VE, but it has 3 different VE tables. So I got to copy, make the change, then copy the table, and then paste it into the other one, and then paste it into the third one. So that's what I'm doing right now. So I'll write this thing. Oh, and my other issue that I've been having, guys, I know this is a ramble fest. One other issue I've been having is this fucking computer. Since I did the update, and I know you guys are saying, yeah, you shouldn't have did the update. Well, I already did it. So it's really been an issue with me. I haven't been able to write a file while I'm out driving it. So if I pull over like I am now, I can't write anything. So if I go to the track and I data log something, I'm not going to be able to write it because I have to be connected to Wi-Fi. So the last like 3 or 4 writes that I did, I would go drive around, then I'd have to drive home, connect to Wi-Fi, and then come out here because it makes me resync my cable every single time I write something. So what I did when I was at home, on one of the trips when I stopped home, was I enabled the Wi-Fi hotspot on my phone so I can enable that thing and hopefully freaking get it to work. So let's try that. Let's see what happens. So I'm gonna plug it in, guys. And it's about 4 o'clock. Track's going to be open in a little bit. I don't know if it's ready, so I don't even know if it's really worth going, or if me and the wife will just, maybe we'll just drive around and enjoy the car, or go to dinner or something, instead of going to the track. But I really want to get it at a track, and what I thought I wanted to do was just let her drive it, and then I would just tune it, and see how that goes. But try to keep her excited, you know, let her drive. But I'm gonna try this. Let's do it. Alright guys, so I did just try it, and I was able to enable the Wi-Fi hotspot and then able to resync the interface. So now I'm gonna go back and write the file. So that's kind of exciting. A little bit annoying that I have to do this, but because I have to unplug from the car. I can't do it with the car plugged in. I have to unplug it from the car, unplug from the computer, then plug it back into the computer, then resync the interface, and it's just a big freaking floppy mess. It's pretty irritating. I'll tell you that much. So I did have an issue before also. I was out here trying to write, nothing was working, and I was getting pissed, and then I went to go leave to go home to connect the computer to the Wi-Fi, and the car wouldn't start. And mind you, I just put E85 in it this morning. I've been driving around and tuning the E85, and I don't have the flex set up yet. It's just E85, and the thing wouldn't start. And I was cranking it, and I saw 10 volts, and I'm like, oh great, my battery's dead, because I was sitting here putzing around trying to get this thing to connect. And called the wife to come jump start me, but she was dropping the kids off at their grandparents' house, her dad's house, and he's like an hour away, and she was just leaving the house. So sat here for a little bit longer, keyed the key forward, and then saw it was actually at 12 volts. It wasn't at 10 volts. It was fine. So then I tried to start it. It still wouldn't start. It would just crank, and then I primed the key forward 3 times, and then tried to fire it, and then it actually farted a little bit. It tried to start, but it didn't start. So then I realized that it just needed fuel, but I couldn't get it more fuel. I'm like, do I turn the pressure regulator up and just get some fuel to it so it'll start? So what I did was I unplugged the coolant temp sensor, because when you unplug the coolant temp sensor, it thinks it's negative 38 degrees, so it dumps a bunch of fuel into it. So I unplugged the coolant temp sensor, turned it, and then it started right up. So that was good. So yeah, I've been having kind of a rough day today. And I almost want to say that having to resync the interface is scanner related, because it does it every time I scan. So I noticed that if I write something, like I just went to write and then I realized I want to change something else, and then I went to write that file again, and it writes it, but if I scan, now next time I have to write something, then I'll have to reconnect it. So kind of annoying. Don't do the updates. If you have a system that works and you have the old cable, just use it if it works. Don't do the updates. That's my advice. So my theory there, my conspiracy theory, is that they're trying to phase out the old cables, so they want to do an update that's not going to be compatible with the old system. So if you do the update for the new software, it's not going to work, then you got to go through all this headache or buy a new unit. So that's my theory. It's probably not anywhere near accurate, but who knows? Maybe I'm borderline heat stroke right now. That's why I'm just talking so much. Alright guys, I putzed with some more stuff and I'm getting warm in here, so I'm gonna go. I added some more to the cranking VE, and then I putzed around with the minimum table a little bit more, but I don't think it's right, because when idle come down, it's gonna drop really low timing. So like the startup sounds and seems good, and it idles in a good spot, but I think the timing is gonna be really fucked up. Sitting here idling, it's at -2 degrees of timing. But then when I blip the throttle a little bit, right, gents, so as you can see, it did rip a little bit. Just came back to kind of check everything, and I did find a little exhaust leak. So I looked way on the back side, way on the back runner there, and I could see a little darkness coming out on the back side by the bolt. So I did just kind of crank that bolt down really tight. It didn't get much tighter, but I think it was just an exhaust leak. I did have this flange on this side is warped slightly, but it was able to be tightened and then flatten out. So I did do the gasket with some sealer on it, like some black or some red RTV, and that's usually what I do on the gaskets. So that one's leaking. I did confirm it by, you know, sticking my foot in the floor a little bit, and then it cleaned it up. So was looking for an exhaust leak or a cracked weld or something at that point. So I'm going to tighten it up. We're going to try to go for a drive again. I don't think we have time to get to the track anymore because it's like 7 o'clock, but I'd like to kind of get her a little more comfortable with the driving. She wanted to drive it again, and with this clutch and stuff, she's never driven anything like this with a clutch that grabs that hard, and it's going to take a little bit of her getting used to it. So I'd rather spend the day with her driving it than, you know, taking it to the track and putzing around and, you know, feeling obligated to do something that we're not comfortable with. So that's where we're at. We're probably going to go back out.
Should I be in around the corner?
Depends how fast you take it, but probably bring it down to second. Alright guys, so back, done with the video. Everything is great. I think everything is fine. So I did notice the little filter that I put on that I was so excited about. It was pretty wet. It was a little soaked. So I was a little concerned about how wet it was, but I did run it with the breather off of it and there wasn't any smoke or anything weird. So I was a little sketched out, like I said earlier, about the exhaust leak, but I didn't think it was a tune issue. Like, it wasn't like a, hey bro, I lost the tune kind of thing, because it was, like I said, 14.5, 15 air fuel ratio, and we were cruising around, and then all of a sudden it just went like whoop, like fucking 18 plus, and nothing changed. So it wasn't like I just flashed a new file and now it was lean. Nothing changed, so it had to be something mechanical. That's when I found the exhaust leak. So I did tighten the bolt up. It didn't help it at all. So we drove it around for probably like another hour. And did a donut in an intersection. So that was the first time that I've ever slid a car on concrete. So I messed around a lot, like in the winter and stuff like that in Wisconsin, but never on concrete before. So that was the first time. So would like to honestly get a little bit better at that and go somewhere where it's reasonable and a decent place to do it. So that was just kind of a very spontaneous thing that we did. So a couple things I want to work on. I want to do the AC. You guys saw I was sweating my beanbag off today. I want to get the AC done. I did take some, all this line here is three different spark plug boots. And I'll show you what I did. So all this little tie stuff on here that holds it together, I cut all of that stuff out, and then you can grab the inside of it, flip it inside out, and then you can actually pull this whole thing, because this is two pieces folded in half inside of each other, right? So then I unfolded it, stuck them all together in a big long hose, and wrapped it around, and then I used some steel heat wrap bands to go around there. So it has the heat wrap on the manifold, and then it has about 4 layers. Some places have 6 layers around that AC line. Just wanted to make sure that was going to be okay. And it seems like it's fine. Didn't really see any issues with that. So did see a little bit of smoking from this side, but I think that was just because this breather after the donut was kind of spitting oil out all over. So probably should do a catch can setup. I really just should do that. Yeah, that's a good idea. Need an overflow. Don't have an overflow, so you can see the water spots kind of all over everything. So it just kind of was spitting out a little bit. Might have been a little overfilled, but definitely need a catch can. So yeah, you got to fix that exhaust leak, which might be kind of a bummer because I'm probably gonna have to pull bumper, turbo, like all this whole side apart. So I'm pretty happy though, because I was out for about 7 hours today. We got home at 8:30. Wife and I we did stop home a couple times, and I'd like look at the file and then stop. You know, we stopped a couple times just for tuning stuff. But overall, I was driving the car for I would say 7 hours today. Left at like 1, came back at 8:30. So it did pretty good. The Mishimoto fan, I was pretty happy with that thing. I never had to worry about the temperature at all. The temperature on the gauge was like pegged right in the center, and if I would cruise it, and we didn't do a whole lot of like long, consistent, straight drives. It was always kind of stop and go, where we would drive for like a mile and then stop, like stop sign, whatever, stuff like that. So it wasn't like consistent long highway driving, and we'd be stopping a lot, and then it heat soaks, and then the temperature comes up. So temperature would come up a little bit, and then as soon as you started, it would just come right back down to where it needs to be. So happy with the Mishimoto fan. Today was 90 degrees today. You guys saw how much I was sweating. It was a hot day, so I'm pretty happy about that fan. I'm pretty confident that it's going to work for me. So I'm really pumped about this whole setup. I don't think anything is leaking. I checked it the other day, fixed a couple leaks. I might jack it up tomorrow and check for a couple other leaks. I'm probably going to try to wipe some of this oil off so it doesn't get confused for a leak. And then the AC compressor keeps spitting out some Freon. Like every time I rev it a little bit higher, it like loses a little bit more, and then I can see it dripping like on the cross member and stuff like that. So that's just because it has 2 open ports on it. I do have the AC clutch disabled though. Oh, and then look at that guy. You know my big old fancy idea to protect all this stuff with the wire loom? Yeah, it just melted off. So I'm gonna have to figure something else out with that. But yeah, guys, I mean, I didn't make it to the track today. Like I said, wanted to bring the car out with the wife and actually spend some time with her, because that was, you know, the original reason we bought this thing was to buy it and drive it and work on it together, which hasn't really happened yet. But, you know, she'll get excited someday, right? And then we'll work on it. But she really just wants to drive it, and we want to maybe do some drifting events. So, not event, but go to a place that has a skid pad and do donuts and be idiots. That's what we really want to do. maybe once this summer. Something like that. All right, guys. I'm out. Thanks for watching. Have a good one.